Richard Dawkins took to Twitter just a couple of days ago to say some very strange things and scientifically incorrect things. He said that eugenics would work. Now, he was very explicit in saying that he did not support eugenics. He thought it was wrong. It is something that should not happen. But he claimed it would work. It's one thing to deplore eugenics on ideological, political, moral grounds. It's quite another to conclude that it wouldn't work in practice. Of course it would. It works for cows, horses, pigs, dogs, and roses. Why on earth wouldn't it work for humans? Facts ignore ideology. And what we can determine from this is that Richard Dawkins ignores facts. Because eugenics doesn't work. And in fact, this kind of, shall we say, specialized breeding literally doesn't work. The science is completely flawed. But let's approach this from more than one angle. I'm not claiming that he thinks it's moral to do eugenics. I'm not attacking him on that. I'm not claiming that he supports it. I'm saying he's wrong in claiming that it works. Problem number one. How do you define what is desirable? What do you call a desirable trait? I think you've just stepped into a moral minefield when you've even begun to start asking that question. And I think that's important to keep in. What traits does something consider desirable? Because I think that's open to a massive amount of interpretation. Now, the thing about eugenics is that it kind of creates these arbitrary fantasies about what is allegedly a superior trait. And those desired traits and the fantasies surrounding them turn into the projects of, well, fascists who completely screw up any civilization that they get a hold of. The fact is, it's completely subjective what is a desirable trait. If you're talking about certain things like an immune system, a stronger immune system, obviously, yes, a strong immune system is better than a weak immune system. But it's when you start getting into pseudoscientific nonsense like race that you start having a problem in these areas, and you start causing where the ideology completely overrides the science, and you end up with another problem. Now, here's another problem with it. Wolves were turned into purebred dogs with severe genetic defects, including joint and heart problems and even cancers. Many Cavalier Spaniels have mitral valve and neurological disorders. In fact, this very selective breeding for desirable traits of dogs, which he does use as an example, literally doesn't work, and in fact starts creating genetic defects in the animals themselves. Purebred animals, particularly show dogs, are known to have a myriad of health problems because of the specialized breeding and lack of genetic diversity. So he's actually explicitly wrong in this case. Now, a 2015 study showed that actually the more diverse and distant appearance genes were, the more likely the children would be to be taller, smarter, and would have a greater lung tidal volume. See, a lot of the misconception around genetic diversity is that somehow that's applied to race. It's not. Genetic diversity, in fact, doesn't have anything to do with race. In fact, as many studies will tell you, the genetic diversity between every single person on the planet is less than what you would find in like a colony of bonobos. In fact, this genetic diversity just means the farther apart the two parents have been genetically. Their race has nothing to do with that. You could have two parents of the same race who are very genetically distant, and you would have a stronger gene. There's nothing inherent to race mixing that has any benefit or any negative. Race is a social construct, and science does prove that it's genetic diversity, not racial diversity, that creates, a stronger genes. So the race has nothing to do with it. That's just something people have invented in their own minds. Nazis have invented in their own minds that it's something bad, and liberals have invented in their own mind that it's something inherently good, when really race doesn't mean anything at all when it comes to genetic diversity. Because the diversity between individual people in the entire world is almost virtually non-existent. As I said, there's less diversity among every single person in the world than there is in an entire colony of bonobos. It's just the genetic distance between the two parents that matters, regardless of race. So there's a lot of complete nonsense and complete pseudoscience when it comes to this. But the point of this video is that, aside from this being a very odd thing that Richard Dawkins would choose to use as saying this is scientifically correct despite people's opinion, he chose something that's not scientifically correct. Now, I'm sure he probably believes that it's scientifically correct, and he would be absolutely wrong. But I get the point he's trying to make. He just did it in a really, really bad way and chose a really bad and incorrect subject in order to make his point.
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.